Dev Diary time. Now, we just had a huge update, so the June Dev Diary, not as substantial as the previous ones, but we might as well keep this trend going and scope it out. And that's how they start this, by just pointing out, we released update 17, so don't expect much. Yeah, 3 new genre, dynamic combat, wealth of other changes. We're currently playing through update 17 on the channel. We're doing our first park build since update 14, which the first episode will be coming out on the channel the same day as this video. Probably in like an hour or something from the time this uploads. So yeah, apparently the game is currently on sale for 30% off during the Steam Summer Sale, so great time to pick it up if you have not yet done it. The game is coming along very nicely, currently in a very great state. I'm very happy with what I've seen so far, playing Update 17. We've got a few videos here, we're not going to go through these since these are for a previous update. Let's talk about the state of development. So we'll just read through this. As you might expect, post is going to be a bit on the shorter side. One touch base, keep the community in the loop. To start with, reflect on U17. Over its 5.5 month dev cycle, it took a little less than 4 months to go from implementing combat to having it in your hands. Despite the behavioral complexities, new tech, and all the required animations, the team pushed really hard to make sure that we could deliver something for the first half of 2026. While there are things we'd like to iron out and polish, we'd love to see your appreciation. We've loved to see your appreciation and surprise for how variable animal encounters can be. That certainly proved troublesome during testing. And that's kind of the beauty of it. An animal making a silly choice to fight something is not guaranteed. It's an unpredictable simulation. An animal making a silly choice to fight something is not guaranteed. Okay, yeah. Sorry, that sentence read really weird to me. Our goal was always to make something that feels fun and alive over something that is overly sanitized or perfect. The animals need to make their own choices, not have the animation make it for them. There's a great design philosophy. I think part of what makes this a good design philosophy is the way it sets the game apart from JWE, which is very canned animation heavy. Two animals decide to fight, they just square up and take turns attacking each other. It's very stilted, unrealistic, but it looks pretty at a glance. And so going with something that's more freeform, a little more like Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, for example, but not as detailed in terms of animations, perfectly fine approach, a great way to set the game apart, and ultimately, I think, more satisfying long term. A canned combat animation looks really good the first time you see it, but the 5th time you've seen the same animation, it doesn't have any impact anymore. Whereas dynamic encounters, even if they look a little more janky, that can play out very differently in different scenarios, can keep that, feeling of uncertainty. It can keep it feeling fresh, right? So that's great. The combat is clearly the main attraction for many players. There are a couple other additions that might have snuck in under your radar. As a big one for casual players, community member Sticky kindly lent us over 70 prefabs to expand the game's library of animal shelters and infrastructure. Cool. So I don't know anything about this. I don't know if Sticky is a prominent member of the community or just a guy. But if certain community builders who have, I can only assume Sticky has some sort of at least reputation for good prefabs, but integrating like community prefabs into like official prefabs is probably a pretty good way to flesh out the game in terms of prefabs and kind of get the community involved. It's the kind of thing that you do tread like maybe a dangerous line with this, where it can feel exploitative, like you're mining the community for work without paying them. I think that comes down to like dev size and like how much money has gone into the game, right? Like if you have a AAA dev who's putting a lot of work into putting a game together, and then they're integrating community design buildings directly into the game, it starts to feel like, why aren't you paying those people? Whereas something on PK's scale, it makes much more sense because they're a much smaller dev team. They're much more intimately connected with the community versus somebody like Frontier. And so my, gut reaction to this is probably just fine. When adjusting their colors to fit our existing themes, one of our artists, Ida, also took time to prepare themed prehabs for the staff break rooms introduced in U17. And we've seen these break rooms in some of our builds. Well, not like these specific designs. I mean, like generically, we've seen staff break rooms at this point in game. I like this little cabin one that fits the vibe pretty well there. So you got little icicles, or is that like a thatch thing that's colored? Because yeah, like the side of the roof here doesn't look like icicles. It's this part here that kind of gave me an icicle vibe, but and of course, we have to mention the rock rework. So yeah, I saw that there were new rocks in the update. I didn't really, know what that entailed. They got a little before after shot here, and at a glance, there's not really much that's like the improvement doesn't seem insane. Like the rocks that they had before don't seem bad to me, basically. So I'm curious what the goal was here. So yeah, we have to mention the rock rework. These updated pieces strike a more balanced middle ground between the original alpha rocks and their second iteration, aiming for strong silhouettes and a more readable surface. Okay. Improved fidelity means not only our igneous rocks, but also improved fidelity applies not only to our igneous rocks, but also to the basalt and Stonehenge pieces too. A number of new shapes and pebbles are also added to the core igneous sets so that there's a lot more you can do with them. Players may have to make some changes to their existing parks or prefabs due to the nature of early access, but we don't expect to touch these specific rocks ever again. Okay, so I guess kind of making the rock faces feel like they're more dramatic, more readable to the eye, and maybe it's a little muddier in the old rocks. I guess that's the idea here. Also, this shot here of these like pachycephalosaurs standing on this decorative rock ledge is sick as fuck. Just another example of a thing we can't do in JWE3. Um, the multi like JWE locomotion in general between all the games is very flat. That's why we don't have bridges, because there is the general design approach for JWE has been to have the animals locomote irrespective of their size, right? So there's no like, other than the gates, the Jurassic Park era gates, there's basically nothing in the game that will block a large animal and not a small animal. If they can pass through a gap, any animal can. And that's likely part of the reason why bridges have never been implemented, because it would require, if it had dynamic height, it would require some sort of dynamic application of animal height to decide whether or not they could go under the bridge. And this like locomotion rule basically applies kind of both to paths and animals in the same way. They can't climb up on anything. They just don't have the technology for it. Basically, a JWE animal is glued to the ground in the same way that the guests are glued to the path, in that they travel along a two-dimensional plane, and that plane can be warped into three-dimensional space, but the animal itself can't move in a third dimension versus the base plane, which the game is built on, if that makes sense. This kind of stuff, again, another really great thing that sets PK apart, and just also is awesome. So yeah. Incoming hotfix. With the main update out of the way, the team's currently working on a hotfix. In addition to the usual stability improvements and bug fixes, upcoming patch will correct the management tutorials, so I assume these are out of date in some way, and sneak in a couple of other changes. I decided to read the management tutorials, and then I changed my mind about 5 seconds later, so I don't know specifically what's wrong with these. I just decided to wing it. On the behavioral side of things, we will be expanding familial defense by making babies actively try to stay behind their parents when threatened. Since the initial update launched with parents already standing between their babies and the aggressors, having the offspring respond should make that interaction feel a lot more natural. There are a couple of other behavioral fixes coming too. Great. Continuing to improve on animal behavior. It is a simple thing that leads to a very different feel when you see it in game, to simply leash the babies to the mother to hide behind her, rather than have the mother try to get between the babies and the babies continue doing whatever. Having them also react to that and then just take cover behind her is a relatively simple thing to do in terms of like AI, but in terms of the way it looks to the player, seeing that interaction play out, it definitely makes things feel more realistic. It genuinely feels like a proper defensive maneuver for all parties present. I assumed before the mother would intervene and the baby would just run off and do whatever, and the mother would kind of just hang out there, now engage in combat or whatever with the Rex, which would mean the baby is just, kind of completely ignorant to the situation. That is my guess. Again, I haven't played enough of the update. I certainly haven't been getting anything into combat in the update to see this. As a bonus, there'll be new baby skins coming for the Wildberry Nasutoceratops and the Hibernal Lielianosaura. While each animal typically has one baby skin, we occasionally design extras to make the transition from baby to adult more pleasing if a species has highly varied skins. Can you imagine if they did this in JWE? Because right now we have animals with drastically different anatomy that grow out of the single juvenile. And here in PK, they're like taking it a step beyond because they're already correcting for just skin patterns that don't seem reasonable for the animal to grow into. Never mind the model differences. This is, again, above and beyond on effort. I also really like this stripy Wildberry baby Nasuto here. Fantastic. Like, these two guys at a glance, I don't think these guys needed unique skins. I'm not going to argue against it, mind you, but, like, I would not have batted an eye at these guys being merged into something in between the two. Also add a new panting behavior for an animal's stamina gets low enough from running or fighting, clearly indicating that they're out of breath and need a break. We'll be adding audio after the hotfix and a follow-up patch. Again, another simple little thing, making the animations reflect the internal stats of the animal in a way that makes them feel alive. Just adding a simple little animation layered on top of whatever else they're doing that just represents that behavior. Very cool, very simple. Makes a lot of difference in terms of visualizing an animal. Man, he's like me for real when I go up the stairs or something. Future improvements. As we continue to develop combat, we'll be working to reduce extreme cases where bodies clip inside each other. However, due to the nature of dynamic combat, clipping is generally not something that can be eliminated entirely. That's entirely understandable. Like, yeah. To fully eliminate clipping is like a lot of work. Like an insane amount of work. Right? It makes sense that you would take steps to reduce clipping if you care about the visual fidelity of your game, but it is not reasonable to expect them to ever completely remove it. That's crazy. In the case of intraspecific sauropod fights, trying to stop net clipping is basically impossible. To help improve this specific instance, we would like to have a few partner animations beyond the current Bronto Smash that they can play while fighting for the best result. So these are the way they use canned animations. These like partner animations where the two animals kind of lock into a shared animation that makes it more dynamic and they have more what do you want to call it? More like tighter meshing between the animals, right? They're physically interacting more closely in a synchronized way that looks really impressive. This is essentially a JWE canned combat animation, but instead of it being the only way they can fight, it is just an additional like type of fight or an additional type of animation that can play during a fight, which is a great compromise. You keep the dynamic variable combat, and then you also introduce these like canned fighting animations wherever there's something really specific you want to do with an animal, which I think is cool. Allows you to have like specific, like theoretically specific death duels between different species types, or within a species have a duel like these Brontos here that plays out very specific to their anatomy. Shortly, the team will also begin to work on a new combat feature for large predators, prey grabbing, originally seen back in our 2017 demo. This behavior allows creatures like a T-Rex to pick up and swallow small animals when hunting. Since then, we'd like to expand the feature by letting carnivores hold and occasionally shake their prey before ultimately digesting them. We'll show it off properly after implementation, but for now you can check out the distinct pickup, shake, and swallow state animations below. Let's look at them. Okay, Rex has grabbed a thing, it is shaking the thing, perhaps it is a lawyer, and now he is gulping it down. Excellent. Alright. Thank you. As we close out this dev dive, we'd like to thank everyone who has supported us along the journey. It's been a long time coming, but we finally have ontogeny, breeding, and dynamic combat all together. It is fantastic. With work soon beginning on Update 18, aiming to release Q4 2026, we got our Christmas present for the year already spoiled. Let's start shaking the box. And next year's full release on the horizon, we'll be polishing and improving gameplay clarity where possible to create the best experience we can. Is Update 19 full release, or is Update 19 the last release before full? I don't remember. This includes working on controller support and enhancing aspects of the UI to better serve all players, no matter what input device they use. You can see a very early version of controller usage below. I am not a controller user, so this means nothing to me, but we might as well watch the clip. I would use a controller when I played a console game, but I haven't played a console game in like 6 years, I think, because I played something, I played like Monster Rancher 4 on PlayStation 2 when I didn't have the internet for like a week, when I moved to Iowa, and that would have been like 8 years ago, actually. That's probably the last time I actually played a physical console game, not counting Nintendo Switch. I don't know why I paused the video to say that. We could have let this play out in the background. I need to do more detailed environment stuff here too in my parks, especially in PK. I haven't been doing too much with that. But I plan on doing more with that in this particular park build we're currently working on. All right, so yeah, maybe that's cool to you. I don't know. Speaking of full release, there's a lot of exciting new animals currently in production that we cannot wait to show you until we're closer to launch. However, to celebrate Update 17, we'd like to officially announce 2 new species coming to the 1.0 roster. The longhorned bison and steppe bison. What did the buffalo say when he dropped his kid off at school? Bison! To tell them apart, the longhorned bison latifrons has a much larger overall size and those classic horns. The steppe bison, however, B. priscus, can be identified by its S-shaped horns. That's the bottom one. And smaller size. Oh, bottom one is in there. It is. You see it? Okay, now scrolling back up. The video is cropped in a different way than I see the browser, so, occasionally I do that. I talk about something you can't even see because I am bad at YouTube, I guess. Priscus will also have alternate colors and fur length inspired both summer and winter seasons, and cave art, giving park managers even more choice when bringing these creatures back to life. I really like the idea of doing that with a mammal. You have like a pre and post molt, basically, versions of the animal. That's kind of cool. Or shed for a mammal. They're not a molt would not really apply there, but the same concept, right? That's really cool. Do a wintry park, you put the wintry ones in there, and you extra shaggy, and you put the less shaggy ones in when you do the summer park. I don't care too much about a bison, but it's good to have it. The team knows how much the community loves Cenozoic animals. Yeah, except for me. I'm the guy who doesn't love Cenozoic animals. I don't fault them for having them or anything like that, mind you. It's not what I'm here for. But it's fine. And we're pleased to say that our bison here won't be the only 2 joining us for 1.0. Makes sense. Mammals are objectively a selling point of the game. It makes sense for them to add more. So while I don't care for the mammals myself, I'm never going to be like, why did you add a mammal? It makes perfect sense for them to add mammals, to add more mammals. Yeah, we got some community spotlight screenshots. We'll just skim through these for the sake of seeing cool shots. I like this structure, this rock structure here in the background. That's very cool. All right, there it is. Well, yep, that's the thing. So yeah, a little bit shorter, but there's still some cool stuff in here. I'm really looking forward to see, the progress on Update 18. Baryonyx is coming. That'll be really cool. So hopefully we see that like next month, maybe for real in game. That'd be cool. Hint.